Hey, so this was supposed to be the Pride Month episode, but it's coming a little late because I was, charity streaming for Black business. You know, helping them out.
Jesus! Jesus! He went in for another slap and she caught his ham.
Every time I go looking up stuff about ancient Greece, it gets gayer. That's not an exaggeration. As I was writing this script, all I thought was, I'm gonna have to get a lot of homoerotic classical art for this, aren't I? I really shouldn't be surprised. This is a civilization that considers the idea of naked dudes wrestling in a stadium to be a fun afternoon. In Sparta, a marriage ritual existed where women would shave their heads and dress as men on their wedding nights. Some historians believe it was because Spartan men needed to be eased into the idea of heterosexuality, which says a lot about how they've been spending their time in the barracks. Speaking of which, Apollo quite famously banged a Spartan prince. Didn't end well, though. Although Sparta is remembered today for its military prowess, they're not actually the subject of today's video.
They are not.
Oh no, there's another city who did it so much better. And gayer. So much gayer. I'm Vibby, and on this episode of A Space Alien Explains, the Sacred Band of Thebes. The year is 379 BC. Or 378. Doesn't matter. But what does matter is that some guy named Gorgidas had a brilliant idea. Okay guys, I want to make an elite group of soldiers. We'll pick them only based on merit and ability. No social class involved. Ensures we get the best of the best in all of Thebes.
Go on.
They're all gay.
Holy Gorgidas.
Yeah?
You're a mother genius.
The Sacred Band of Thebes was made of 150 male couples, so about 300 soldiers in all, ranging somewhere between the ages of 20 and 30. Why they wanted gay couples specifically for such a formidable force is because they believed each person would be busting their ass on the battlefield to ensure the safety of their lover. Busting ass and busting nuts, only in the Sacred Band of Thebes. Ancient Greece had their own ideas about what the ideal male couple should look like, so each pair consisted of an older Aristes and his younger passive partner, the Eromenos. Why does this sound familiar? They were called the Sacred Band because it said that the lovers would exchange vows at the shrine of Iolus, a divine hero who was one of the lovers of Heracles. The first time the Sacred Band saw any action was in 378 BC, during the standoff between Spartan king Agesilaus II and Athenian mercenary commander Chabrias. Thebes and Athens had formed an alliance against Sparta at the time. I don't want to go into too much detail about what happened at that standoff, but Agesilaus thought he was hot, like, oh, the mere sight of the Spartans coming en masse will make them hop on that train to Nopeville in record time. But then the Theban and Athenian armies were like, come at me, you ain't nothing. And then Agesilaus decided, well, this, I'm taking the train to Nopeville. Imagine out intimidating Sparta. The Battle of Tegera was the first recorded victory of the Sacred Band. By this time, Gorgidas had disappeared from all accounts, and command was transferred to Pelopidas. Pelopidas was attempting to capture the city of Orchomenus, which at the time was allied to Sparta. Upon reaching the city, they realized that Sparta had reinforced the place with a new garrison. Pelopidas was hesitant to engage, so he turned around and started heading back to Thebes, when they got caught by more Spartan forces at the shrine of Apollo. Basically, they're The Spartans outnumbered the Thebans 2-1. Sparta was pretty confident with their numbers and continued their advance, but Pelopidas had a serious set of balls and decided he was going to try to cut through the Spartan lines anyway. After all, he had the power of gaze on his side. The Spartan leaders were immediately killed in the opening clashes. They were completely overwhelmed by lack of leadership and considerable loss of life, leaving the surviving soldiers no other choice but to get the out. Another victory against the Spartans was accomplished at the Battle of Leuctra, where, once again, the Thebans were outnumbered. At this point, the Sacred Band were working as a separate entity, allowing them to respond quickly to events in battle, which is what led Thebes to victory. At one point during the battle, the Sacred Band had moved ahead of the Theban left wing to halt the Spartans long enough for the Theban infantry to come in and slaughter them. The Spartans, completely demoralized, asked for a truce, which was granted, and a shrine was created on the battlefield to commemorate the Theban victory. Getting old's a bitch, I guess. I'm sure this looked way better in its heyday. And that's how all of Greece learned not to with the Theban gay army. The Sacred Band would face its defeat in the Battle of Chaeronea. Athens and Thebes had joined together once more to fight against the forces of Philip II of Macedon and his son Alexander. Unfortunately, Thebes and its allies were no match against the Macedonian phalanx. It's literally like your regular garden variety phalanx, but everyone has a bigger stick. Imagine losing because of a big stick. Wild. The Theban army and its allies broke and fled, but the Sacred Band held their ground. They refused to surrender, even though they found themselves overwhelmed and surrounded. All 300 fell alongside their commander Theagenes. Up until this point, the Sacred Band of Thebes was considered to be invincible. It's said that Philip II was so moved by their bravery, he wept at the sight of their dead bodies. Incidentally, Philip was held as a hostage in Thebes during his teenage years. He was also in a relationship with the Sacred Band commander Pelopidas, so there is a strong possibility that he was very familiar with these people. So that sucks. It's not known for sure where the Sacred Band was buried, but one theory suggests that they were laid to rest at the Lion of Chaeronea, which was erected by the Thebans in remembrance of those lost in the battle. I know, it's unfortunate history likes to bury its gays, but one eternal gay is all I'm asking for. Just one. Please. Pretty please. Hi everyone! Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. This week's featured fan art is by Cully Kai 2002 on Twitter. Link to the artist page is in the description. And here's some comments from the last video. If this episode made you sad that social distancing rules make it impossible to form a phalanx with your friends, please be sure to drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. If you'd like to support the channel, I have art commissions and a Ko-Fi page available. Buy me a coffee and I can make you a sketch as a way of saying thanks. Links to all that, as well as links to my social media, are in the description. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you real soon.